Alright, Section 3, maintenance for the locomotive general maximum for the same with the electrical machine, the only one that kept dry with the cleaning. All other air should be blown on with the dry compressed with the air with the part accessible should be wiped off with the clean with the wiping rag. Washing wiping rags are preferred. Cotton waste less liable to leave lint, but do not use air under high pressure for the cleaning with the vicinity of the exposed with the mica insulation. Small flakes of the mica will be blown loose from the flying, resulting in incomplete destruction of the insulation. Oil is destructive of the insulating material of the collection of dirt, causing such material to break down. Electric with the lubricating electrical apparatus with extreme care to prevent lubricating with the coating with the insulated parts. If any lubricant does spill on the equipment, it will be wiped off thoroughly with the clean wiping rags. All the screws and bolts and nuts which secure the electrical connection tight to ensure the good contact ground connections made with the surface with the conditions made with the cleaning through with all the dirt and paint with the restore with the rust to assure the good electrical contact. Cement with the advantage of repairing with the burn insulation of the arch sheet with the inside over the contactors and switch. Varnish is recommended for all cables exposed with the dirt and moisture, especially with the creepage and perform with the high insulation qualities. Give it a smooth surface clean and easy. When varnish control of the apparatus, give it a good quality insulation varnish. During inspection control, responsible personnel will watch for a loose nut loose nuts and screws with cotter pins missing in the non-split with the broken wear spring with the way or contact pressure for the interlock relay contact pin proper wire. Wipe and break. 5. Grease and dirt insulation material. 6. Worn burn contactors. 7. Loose terminals and connections. 8. Broken insulators. 170 running gear and mechanical equipment. The responsible personnel will inspect with the truck the other parts of the rolling gear. Equipment that frequently show for the condition of quality. The inspector will watch especially the leaf of the missing bolt, the nuts, non-wearing plates, worn broken bearings, but affect the gear for the gear case. The broken spring with the inspection will include gear cases, motor axle cap, the supporting bolt with the nuts and linings, motor, armature bearing with the motor noise, suspension bolt with the spring safety lugs, and hammer and hangers, journal boxes wearing bolts, plates and bearings, pedestal wearing plates, equalizer spring with dust guard, thrust plates, end of the axle, hub liners, wheels and tires, center plates, side bearings, brake rigging, including cylinder level, the hangers, pans, brake shoe, the brake shoe heads and turnbuckle, the traction motor, air connections when used, hand hose and pipe, the coupler of the motor, leading support clamps, and air brake hoses. Alright, 171 engine and generator mounting, alignment of the generator engine through with the flexible coupling obtained, trim the arm of the generator, support with the method of the mounting of 2 conditions, fulfilled with the changing one with the apt to effect with the other, correct alignment of the coupling, equalizing generator air gap after the correcting alignment that has been same with the generator dial with the sub beef, the facility of the realignment of the coupling and generator frame with the original alignment that has been disrupted for any reason. However, the dial pins will not depend entirely locating with the generator, or the engine may be shifted down with the space. Coupling, therefore, will be checked with the dial gauge, the air gap measured to make sure the realignment is correctly made. If it becomes necessary, the discount with the generator for the engine with any of the work that would distribute the alignment, the reassembling with the set with the care will be taken for the elder shipment some of the generator support with the plate with the original position. Dial pins and body bounded bolts also will be replaced properly. Insert the dial pins, body bound bolts, and generator frame support replaced with the same thickness trim, but does not always ensure for the correct setting. As the engine may have them moved the sub to ensure the engine is located exactly in the same position where it was before disturbing the alignment. Ensure the dial pins for the other body bound bolts of the engine base before tying to align the generator. 172 filling with the water system with the operator will close the drain valve, tighten the drain plugs. Use only clean water filled through the pipe located on the top of the radiator. Replenish the water required to offset less for the leakage of evaporation. Water will be drained completely at least once each month to keep the concentration of water impure. If it becomes too great with the drain with the water cooling system, the operator will open over the drain valve, remove the drain plugs, remove the curve of the water pipe, and make certain that all the parts of the system, including engine block, any water-colored auxiliaries are drained completely. 173 wheel diameters. Keep the wheel diameter variation limited to be given in Chapter 6 and Section 3 to avoid great unbalanced load between the motors. However, the recommended with the wheel diameters be maintained nearly equal to the shop practice permits. 174 lubrication. Proper lubrication of diesel electric locomotives in pair with the instruction will be followed with a carefully proper level, the proper grade with the oil carry with the crankcase at all times. The care will be taken to maintain regular lubrication. Schedule remainder of the locomotive with the frequent cleaning with the metal edge type of the changing elements of the bag waste type of the lubricating oil filters increase the life of the oil with the absorption of the carbon deposit the other impurities of the carried out with the oil elements of the bag waste type of the filters will change each time lubricating is changed. If the height of lubricating oil rises, the crankcase will be found with the oil being diluted with the water from or fuel oil. Locomotive should be taken out of the serve the reason with the dilution determined corrected. Dilution lubricating oil from the fuel oil with this series often causing the bearing failure, but the injector will be cleaned with fuel injection. Connections checked for the leak with the injector rocker arm push tubes and check for the failure if the dilution occurs. Dilution of lubricating oil by water, although not as common and equally serious with the cylinders, the head of the blocks and cylinder line seal We check for leaks. When the locomotive first put in the strip of each of the week at approximately 1 pound per lubricant with each of the gear cave for the most frequent inspection through the following opening to determine if there is good film with the grease on the teeth of the required amount with the frequency of the adding lubricant can be determined in considerable leakage of the gears is noted at the same time when the gear teeth will show if the good film of lubricant and more grease is being with the use of the necessary. On a swivel type truck, locomotive lubricated separately with at least once each month, with more often than necessary. The oil used the general bearing with a suitable for the purpose of working out with the lubricating schedule will be observed. Balls and roller bearings require the right kind of quantity of the clean lubricant, which with the grease lubricated damage result the more often too much lubricant rather than too little. All type of the bearings will be inspected frequently during the initial period with a determined sign of the wrong lubrication before serious damage can result. Alright, 175 fuel oil system care will be keeping the fuel oil clean condition. Storage tank with the drum will be kept free of the dirt with water, rust scale with the carrier will be taken with the form matter with the transfer of the fuel with the storage tank with the fuel and locomotive fuel tanks. Occasionally flushing the locomotive fuel tank will remove any of the sediment with itself in the tank. This might do done by removing the drain plug with the bottom of the fuel tank, allowing a small amount of the fuel to drain out with the replacement of the plug. Cleanly fuel is necessary because of the close with the clearance of the injection pump with the injection nozzle mechanism. Fuel oil injection system is protective extent with the use of the filters. Periodic cleaning of the change of the elements of the fuel oil filters will prevent unnecessary fuel injection troubles. 176 cooling system. The engine cooling system is filled through the filler of the pipe of the roof, the side of the truck, with the under of the platform, with the locomotive fill until the tank of the sand pipe overflows due to the water treatment and combined with the diesel engine cooling system. The strongly recommended that they reduce the scale of the engine formation cover the embrittlement with the engine water outlet, a manifold thermometer with a cap provided the excellent means to determine the faulty water circulation, the lack of the water, abnormal high temperature, and indicated that the thermometer usually due to the faulty water circulation, lack of the water in the cooling system of the poor circulation, indicated except for the localized heating of various points of the cooling system. This may be determined by holding the hands of the various points of the question and making the comparison of the degree of the heat. Proper adjustment maintained with the radiator with the belt with the improper function with the cooling fan with the engine should overheat to cover the insufficient water with the cooling system and add hot water idling instead of the engine. If the engine is extremely hot, let it cool for an hour, then so we're adding water, maintaining the even the temperature as possible with the cooling system between 140 and 180. 180 degrees, preferably 160 degrees, but never above 195 degrees. Electrical equipment. The batteries are used to describe the engine, supplying with the current with the lights for the other auxiliary unit. This will be given an occasional tap of the hydrometer. A certain amount of the travel of the care of the waters will be added daily to keep at the correct level of the batteries. Gravity readings will not be taken immediately after adding water, but all of the connections will be kept clean and with a tight. On the locomotive, the cutout switch is provided with a disconnect with the battery with the circuit with the switch with the open lead with the locomotive from the idle period with the wood and working with any of the control circuit with the master control is just select with the direction of the locomotive, the interlock with the main throttle with the handle to you so that the control cannot be thrown into the forward, reverse, vice versa, and left with the throttle in idle position. Reverse drum switch for the reversing traction motor field with the operator with the double cylinder air engine control with the two magnet valve with the terminal control with the electrically by master control with the in event that it does not rotate with the starter switch. Contact with the check with the battery cutout switch. If you with the circuit with the starting with the contact with the engine with the operator with the locomotive will not move the check with the control of the auxiliary fuses. Contact with the engine and the power controls. If the locomotive will move with the one direction, the trouble that you with the locate with the wiring from the control with the operator with the magnet valve with the coil with the interlock with the reverser low control oil pressure with normally 70 pounds. The reverser master control handle with the always kept in the direction of movement of the locomotive except with the deadheading when it will be played with the neutral position. Main generator supply with electrical energy with the use of the power locomotive for the purpose of the auxiliary generator to discharge the batteries on some of the locomotive's exciter generators excite with the main generator field the traction motor convert the electrical power for the main generator mechanical power of the gear for the locomotive the axles and the transition terminal applied with the chain with the traction motor electrical connections for series of serials parallel. This is done with attaining the desired traction after the speed with the voltage operating limited with the generator.